Welcome on into the midweek edition of WagerTalk Extra, where we're here to remind you no matter what you're cashing on, that money is all going to spend the same. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and a little bit different that we have for our little midweek meeting here, as typically we would be talking to Andy Lang about a little UFC action right here at the top. Well, no UFC this weekend. Andy will be joining us later this week to talk some other combat sports that he's been cashing in. So don't worry, you'll still have plenty of smaller glove action there. But on today's show, Kevin Dolan going to be joining me at the top. He's going to talk the old faithful. That's boxing, and he's also got a soccer play locked and loaded for you. And then Nick Borrman's going to shut things down. He's going to give us his thoughts on the Valero Texas Open. So let's get right into it. Welcome in the Irishman himself. Typically, you're batting cleanup. Now you're batting leadoff with MLB right around the corner. And Kev, great to see you, brother. Always love when we have you on here, where they can, of course, check you out at WagerTalk.com. But I say we get right into it, talk a little EPL action with you, Kev, since we didn't have a stoppage time for the folks on Tuesday, fans of WagerTalk TV here. So how about Liverpool, Man City? Always a decent matchup. How do you see this one shaking out?
Well, it's a great weekend overall, Dan, in soccer. We got AC Milan, Napoli in Italy, Lyon, PSG in France. We got their Klassiker, the big one over in Germany as well, Dortmund, Munich. That's going to be a humdinger, obviously, with all the title implications. But, arguably the biggest one of them all, at least in sheer size, is going to be this weekend, as you said, between Liverpool and Manchester City over in the EPL. And, while there's no title implications, at least for Liverpool's case, huge game for them. They really need to lock in that Champions League spot for next season. So, really looking forward to this one on Saturday, obviously.
Yeah, and while Liverpool's crest may say never walk alone, it sounds like, or it seems like, for you, if anyone's trying to back Liverpool, they'll be backing them alone. Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going with the Blues here and riding the Man City side.
Yeah, I mean, City have it all to do themselves in terms of closing that gap on Arsenal at the top of the table. But like I said, this is a really important game for Liverpool as well. They have 12 games remaining on the season. They face Chelsea and Arsenal in the next two matchups after this game as well. Tottenham in a few weeks at Anfield also, which, given where both sides are at in the table, that's going to be a huge game for top four, implications at that stage. So, Liverpool obviously need to show up for this game as well. We know that they're at least 5 points off the pace given where Newcastle are at in the table, but they've been hit by somewhat of an injury crisis heading into this one. 7 players potentially out of the lineup ahead of Saturday. No Thiago, no Calvin Ramsey, no Bacicic, Simiskis, Luis Diaz, Henderson, Nunes. They're all doubtful for this game as well. And those aren't the kind of holes in and around that defensive midfield area you want to be leaving a City side this good to kind of operate, with impunity in and around that central area. So, City have been red hot across 2023 so far, especially at home. They've won 8 straight games in this venue across recent weeks. They beat Arsenal here. They demolished RB Leipzig, obviously 7-0 in the Champions League as well. And in the EPL specifically, they won the last 4 games at home by a combined 12-3 goals margin. So even without Phil Foden and potentially no Erling Haaland here for City as well, still, the only way I could look on this one is towards taking City here, with a view towards the under as well. I don't believe we'll see a shootout in this one either. So, Man City, under 3.5 goals combined, is going off a plus 130 right now over at DraftKings. And that's the way I'll be looking on this one.
A plus price for a 2-legger right there. And we're looking at Man City and the under 3.5 total goals. That's Kevin Dolan. Well, Kevin, it's not just the pitch. It's not just the diamond. Boxing has maybe been the most kind to you in your time in Wager Talk, our number one boxing capper. And this is a great fight this weekend between Anthony Joshua, Jermaine Franklin. So before we get your thoughts on as far as what you'll be taking out of your pocket on this fight, how do you think this one's going to be shaken out? Because it's a hard one to handicap.
Well, it's a massive fight, as you said, especially for heavyweight kingpin, former heavyweight kingpin Anthony Joshua. He's looking to make it back to the top of the heavyweight division. And that starts with a win this weekend against Jermaine Franklin over in London. Franklin is a fighter who fought Dillian White back in November in this city. Very close fight as well. People were surprised. Franklin gave a very good account of himself in that one. Almost pulled off the upset. And, he's making all the right noises out of this fight as well. He's saying he's going to scupper AJ's comeback plan. and so on. So yeah, I'm excited for this one on Saturday. And what's a make or break 'em fight over in the English capital this weekend?
All right, well, if it's make or break, what are you making your bet on in this one, Kev? We got rounds, we got your outright winner. How are you going to bet this one?
I'm looking towards the under in this one, Dan. I've been impressed with AJ's attitude in the build up to this fight. Obviously there was something missing with Robert Garcia, who trained him for the Usyk rematch. They seemed at odds with each other in the build up to that fight. Joshua had that mental breakdown in the ring, if we remember, after that fight as well. But he's now with Derek James over in the States. That's Errol Spence's trainer, that's Jamel Charlo's trainer. And that's a great move, in my opinion. James is the elite of the elite in terms of boxing trainers. We saw the game plan he devised recently for Frank Martin in what was supposed to be a toss-up fight beforehand. Frank Martin dominated. So Joshua really is under some master guidance right now. And with a trainer who brings out the best attributes in his fighters, focuses on bringing out Charlo's, kind of athleticism in the ring. He brings out Errol Spence's, upper body strength and so on. So even if you're the biggest Anthony Joshua critic, you would likely admit Derek James has plenty to work with Joshua. He's got size, he's got power in both hands. So I like the way the pressure's kind of off Joshua ahead of this fight. He said if he loses here, he's going to retire. But I don't see that as a sign of pressure. I just see that as basically, a matter-of-fact statement. He singled out the Dillian White victory in a recent interview as the most satisfying, knockout of his career. That was the last time we kind of really seen Joshua let the shackles off, when he used to just go in there, like a beast, look to mess guys up offensively. So it'll be interesting to see if Derek James can, bring that beast back out of Joshua in this one, get him back to that more aggressive style, as a kind of confidence builder, because if he's going to go on to the Wilder fight, if he's going to go on to the Fury fight, he needs that confidence back. So I'm going to take the under 7.5 rounds in this one on Saturday as my play. Jermaine Franklin is a fighter who's never been stopped in the ring, but he also, he doesn't shy away from a firefight, and he's never been hit as hard as he's going to be hit this weekend. So if he gets into it early with Joshua, I expect this to end, reasonably early. So yeah, I'm happy taking the under 7.5 rounds in this one between the two fighters on Saturday.
Man, my man Kevin Dolan, the Irishman, all undered up here on this edition of WagerTalk Extra. Kev, as I mentioned at the top, you're capping this, that, and everything. NBA, MLB, obviously the boxing that you drop in there. So when people head on over to your page, wt.buzz/KD, what do you already have locked and loaded? Do you have any deals for the folks?
Yeah, ton of action up right now, Dan. We got a 4% NBA best bet up for Wednesday. We've got an MLB opening day triple pack loaded up for Thursday's card as well. 72.7% in MLB going back to last August. And, remember, packages are all half price on Thursday over at WagerTalk as well. So great time to jump on board. We'll be polishing off the European soccer card by tomorrow as well. So great time to jump on board, and, looking forward to another big weekend ahead.
That's Kevin Dolan. Make sure you check him out. And I did you a favor, Kevin. Usually I have you following up Nick Borrman. I had you before him today so that you didn't have to sit around and listen to Nick here. But I suggest you, the listeners, definitely should. Nick Borrman, our man from SportsMemo, is going to give his thoughts on the Valero Texas Open right after this here on WagerTalk Extra. Welcome on back here to WagerTalk Extra, and we got Andy Lang's thoughts on this PGA event this weekend. So now let's head on over to sportsmemo.com and see what his cohort Nick Borrman has to say about this weekend. And Nick, I was sad, man. I was missing you last week. We didn't get to chat with you here on WagerTalk Extra. So before we get into this weekend, how'd last weekend go for you? How's it been running over at sportsmemo.com?
Last week was another profitable golf week, and it was very close to a huge week. We had Scotty Scheffler at the Dell. He finished, he lost in the semifinals. He had his chance there to move on to the finals. And then we had Hogard at Corrales, who finished solo second, one shot back. And I had three guys with a chance on Sunday. So it's all you can ask for when you're betting these outrights. And of course, the week prior, we had Mary, Taylor, Moore, 70-1 cash. So I was looking good for back-to-back winning weeks. But we're gonna get this winner again this week, Dan. I'm feeling good about it.
It almost seems like it was good luck not hanging out with me here on the show. But I'm going to knock on wood for you, and I'm going to bring you, maybe this is going to be the week, Nick, that we finally get that outright winner free here for the folks. The way that Nick does it, he gives us an outright player, and then he gives us some of his favorite plays for the weekend's event. And this weekend, as you mentioned, we're talking Valero Texas Open. So Who are we going to place a couple shekels on trying to get one of these nice plus money prices home, Nick?
Yeah, Dan, I'm looking at Taylor Montgomery this week as an outright play. And anybody following golf this year is well aware of who Taylor Montgomery is. He's a young up-and-comer, but he's been playing great this season, and it's only a matter of time. He's going to win. He's been, I'll call it a bit of a slump the last 2 months or so, but those were the deepest fields of the season. He had 2 missed cuts, and he didn't finish better than 31st in his last 5 stroke play events, but 4 of those tournaments were the designated events with fields, like I said, as strong as majors, and the other one being Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey. So all very tough venues there. Prior to that, though, Taylor was on fire, constantly putting himself in position to win in these weaker field events, which this week is. In 9 starts from the beginning of the season at the Fortinet through the American Express at Pebble in January, he had 8 finishes in the top 15, 8 out of 9 in the top 15, Dan. The concern is that most of his strokes gained do come with the flat stick. He's one of the best putters on tour. This week, though, the wind is projected to be swirling in Texas, so that does create havoc and kind of levels the playing field as far as ball striking goes. So that putter, if it gets hot again, I expect him to be fully in contention on Sunday. And his course is playing long this week, and he's one of the longer hitters on tour. And especially this week, he ranks 36th in driving distance, which is up there in this field. So I like Taylor Montgomery, 28-1 to give us a chance on Sunday to come through with another outright.
Never good when anything is wreaking havoc with the ball striking, Nick. So Taylor Montgomery with the outright plus price, a 28-1 spot. It's not a bad one right there, Nick. So, hey, let's swing over. And another thing that you love attacking here, still getting people some plus money, but with a great advantageous position is some of these top 10, top 20 plays. And you have a guy that you're ISOing in on for both of those and having a pretty good weekend here. Maybe not winning outright, but being around that top of the leaderboard. Who are we eyeing for the top 10, top 20 finishers?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Belgian Thomas Detry, who, full disclosure, I do have a little bit of sprinkled on him on the outright because I do think he's going to be in contention again. And really, the reason I liked him immediately as I looked at the odds board this week is just the disrespect he got from week to week. Yes, last week at Corrales, he was the 3rd favorite to win at 20-1. And this week he's fallen all the way to 50-1. And we're still talking about a relatively weak field. I mean, maybe there's a couple more bigger names in here, but he shouldn't be dropping as much as he did. And it's not like he played poorly last week. He finished tied for 8th. So he's a Rookie of the Year candidate. He's had a very strong fall. He's got 4 top 15 finishes in 5 starts. But listen, this is not his first time around. He's a rookie on tour, but he's been plodding around the DP World Tour, which is formerly the European Tour, for years. So he knows how to win. He's got plenty of wins over there. The negative, I guess, this week, if you're going to find one, is that he hasn't played this venue before. But I'm willing to look past that as he is one of the more consistent players in this field, having made the cut in 15 of his last 16 starts worldwide. So I'm assuming he'll be there on the weekend, and that gives him a good chance to move up the leaderboard as the week goes, if he's not already up there as the cut's being made. So I like him to be near the top come Sunday, and maybe again with a chance to win, but I definitely like the top 20 markets on Detry this week.
Yeah, and I love it. It seems like one of those typical buy-in low spots, maybe why we're getting some nice plus money play on that. Thomas Detry, top 10 at 5.5-1, and then we got the top 20, 2.5-1. So love that, Nick. And what are people going to find when they head on over to your page, sportsmemo.com? You're always trying to get some deals working for the folks so they can ride along with you. Have anything locked and loaded for this weekend? Any soccer action as well that people should be aware of?
Yes, sir. We got the Valero, obviously, pack up for $19, get all the outrights and leaderboard bets for the week. MLS is going strong this year, and I'll have my plays loaded up on Wednesday night. So looking forward to another profitable week there. It's been number 1 so far again this year in MLS, and going for 5 straight profitable seasons there, Dan. So hopefully continue that. And the regular domestic leagues are back. We had the international break the last 10 days. So Premier League, Bundesliga, all that is back this weekend. So I'll have my cards up on Thursday for the weekend action.
I love it. That's Nick Borrman. Make sure you check him out, sportsmemo.com. Make sure you check out the deals page as well at both wagertalk.com and sportsmemo.com. And that's going to do it for us here on our little midweek edition of WagerTalk Extra. Make sure you join us tomorrow. We got Andy Lang joining us, and we also going to have a Tokyo Brandon sighting. Believe it or not, KBO NPB action is right around the corner, and Tokyo Brandon's going to be getting you winning tickets all year long right here on WagerTalk Extra. So we'll talk to you on Thursday, and until then, best of luck, and we'll see you tomorrow right back here on WagerTalk TV.